Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about chord substitutions and ones that apply to some specific jazz standards. As jazz musicians, a lot of the gigs that we play are going to consist of a lot of different jazz standards, and there are certain songs that are just very commonly played by a lot of different people, so it is very likely that you're going to be playing a lot of the same songs on a lot of the gigs that you do. And one thing that you can always do to kind of enhance these songs, especially if you've played them a ton of times and you're looking for something to do to make it a little bit more exciting, chord substitutions are a great way to enhance some of the songs that you're playing over and give you some added harmony to both comp over as well as improvise over. So there are a lot of different types of chord substitutions that can be applied to all different types of standards. But today I want to show you 5 that I think are very commonly used by a lot of people. If you're at a jam session or if you're on a gig with somebody and you're playing one of these standards, the likelihood of somebody throwing in some of these substitutions is pretty high, especially if you're playing with somebody who is a seasoned pro. And one thing I would say is I wouldn't recommend throwing in these substitutions unless you're 100% comfortable playing over the standard with the original changes. So make sure you're really comfortable with that before you start adding on to it, because you really need to know these songs inside and out before you start doing substitutions and reharms and stuff like that. So the 5 songs we're going to be looking at today are Autumn Leaves, Stella by Starlight, There Will Never Be Another You, Rhythm Changes, and Have You Met Miss Jones. So all 5 are songs that are very commonly played and are a big part of the jazz standard repertoire. And if you're comfortable with any of these tunes already and you're looking for a little bit of additional harmony to kind of spice up your comping and give you some new stuff to improvise over, this should definitely help out with that. So we'll start out with Autumn Leaves. So for Autumn Leaves, if we're doing it in the key of G minor or B flat major, it normally starts with 2-5-1 to B flat major, then E flat major, and then a 2-5-1 to G minor. So that's like the stock changes. So one common thing that you can do over the solo section of this song is you can do this descending 2-5 pattern to get from the C minor down to the A minor 7 flat 5. So what you do is you start with C minor 7 for 1 bar. Now right here, we're going to do this quick descending 2-5 pattern. Each chord is going to last 2 beats instead of a bar. So then we do a 2-5, a half step down. So B minor 7, E7, then you go down another half step, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, and then you're down to the A minor 7 flat 5. So you've arrived at the 2 chord of the minor 2-5-1. So if we did that in time, it would sound like this. And that one little idea right there, doing those chromatic 2-5s, that can give you a whole new set of sounds to mess around with when you're improvising. And when you're playing with other people, if you're comping behind a soloist, pay attention to what they're playing, because oftentimes somebody will actually use these substitutions in their solo. And if you're playing with somebody that has a good ear and can pick up on things quick, you adapt and start playing these chromatic 2-5s. I've been in so many different, musical situations where somebody has started doing that during their solo, and you just catch it really quick and just go along with them, and vice versa. During your solo, if you start using these substitutions, it would be on the rhythm section to go along with you as well. And if you're playing with somebody that really knows what they're doing, they should be able to pick up on that with no problem. So that is our first substitution for Autumn Leaves. Now we will move on to Stella by Starlight. So this one is happening over the final section of Stella, the C section, where it brings back the opening melody, but it has some slight different chord movements to get to the end and eventually resolve to B flat major, which is the home key of the song. So this one is interesting. So the original changes, we do E minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, C minor 7 flat 5, F7, and then we resolve to B flat major 7, the 1 chord. So one really interesting thing that you can do over this is another set of chromatic 2-5-1s, and in this instance it actually works with the melody as well. So you could also do this when you're playing the head, if you're playing with somebody that wants to utilize that substitution, and you can also do it during your soloing. So what a lot of people do is they do E minor 7 flat 5, A7, and then you do E flat minor 7, or to be precise, E flat minor 9, and then A flat 7 or A flat 13, and these are 2 beats each. 1, 2, 3, then you do the D minor 7 flat 5 for 2 beats, G7 for 2 beats, and then you do C sharp minor 7, or if you want to call it C sharp minor 11 to be precise, that's the voicing I'm doing, and then F sharp 13, then C minor 7 flat 5, F7, B flat major 7. So in time that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I said that can also be used over the melody, and that's because the melody notes line up with the chord. So if you have... So right there, when we land on that F, that can be the 9 of the E flat minor 7, and then right there, that melody note, that G flat, could really be the 11 of the C sharp minor 11. Okay, so another one that's very commonly used, and just like I said with Autumn Leaves, listen to whatever soloist you're playing with and see if they start utilizing some of these movements, and then just adjust on the spot to them, and it gives you a whole new set of sounds to explore. Okay, the next one is There Will Never Be Another You, and this is another great example of a chromatic 2-5. This one is nothing crazy, but it's something that's really commonly used, and it's worth knowing. So if we just play through the chords of this tune, this isn't going to happen until the very last 2-5-1 to set up the A section again. So we have E flat major 7, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, C minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7, D flat 7, E flat major 7, C minor 7, F7 for 2 bars. And normally right here you just do F minor 7, B flat 7. Normally it just is a 2-5 to get back to the E flat major. But one thing you can do instead is at the very end, if we do the 2 bars of F7, then instead of just doing F minor 7 to B flat 7, you do a chromatic 2-5 from a half step above, and each chord lasts 2 beats each instead of a full bar. So then we do F sharp minor 7, B7, F minor 7, B flat 7. And that again works with the melody, because if we think about right, that note right there that it lands on, that could be the 9 of the F sharp minor. So very similar to what we talked about in Stella by Starlight. So F sharp minor 9, B 13, F minor 7, B flat 7. Okay, this next one is more of a device that you hear a lot of people use when they're soloing, and this is a very specific type of chord substitution that's going to work over rhythm changes. So for anybody unfamiliar with rhythm changes, it's a specific set of chords that's based off of the song I Got Rhythm, and there's a lot of variations on how you can play the chords, but the version I will show you is going to sound like this. So we're in the key of B flat, so we do 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, and then you do the 1 chord, but you make it dominant, then the 1 chord with the 3 in the bottom, and then the 4 chord, and then sharp 4 diminished, and then a 3, 6, 2, 5. So chord substitution that a lot of people do for this, and it makes it sound completely different from the original changes, but it's really cool. You do this cycle of fourths thing, and you do it by starting on the flat 6 of the key. So if we're in the key of B flat, our flat 6 would be G flat. So you start on G flat 7, and you just do cycle of fourths all the way down. So that means you can do ascending fourths. So a fourth above G flat would be B, fourth above B would be E, fourth above E would be A, fourth above A would be D, fourth above D would be G, fourth above G would be C, and then fourth above C would be F. So if we do those for 2 beats each, we get this. And it lines up perfectly because the last chord that we land on is F7, and if we look at the original changes in the bar that follows that, it would land on a B flat 7 chord. So F7 is the 5 of B flat 7. So this particular harmonic device sets up that B flat 7 chord perfectly. Now this is an interesting one in terms of when do you use it when somebody is soloing. Again, I just use it whenever I want, and I hope that the rhythm section will adjust to me when they hear it. But if you're playing with somebody else, you can kind of tell when somebody is utilizing this device because it sounds so different from the original key of B flat major. And because it goes by so quick, usually people play a lot of patterns outside of these chords, so you might hear something like stuff like that. And usually when you hear stuff like that, it's pretty clear that they're utilizing this substitution. So just to quickly review, you can do this in any key of rhythm changes. All you got to do is take the root note and then start on the flatted sixth of the key that you're in, and you just do dominant 7 chords in the cycle of fourths. So that is an interesting one, and I think it's definitely worth knowing because people use it all the time. All right, and for our last one, we're going to do Have You Met Miss Jones? This one is going to be very similar to There Will Never Be Another You. There's one particular spot in this song where you can do a chromatic 2-5 from a half step above, and it lines up with the melody. So the original changes of Have You Met Miss Jones would be F major 7, F sharp diminished, G minor 7, C7, A minor 7, D minor 7, and then right here G minor 7, C7, so just 2, 5. But what you can do at the end there, instead of just a bar of G minor 7 and a bar of C7, you can go up a half step and do a chromatic 2-5 from a half step above, and they're 2 beats each. So A flat minor 7, D flat 7, G minor 7, C7. So if we do that in time, it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it works great with the melody because the melody over the part right before it, if I'm going from the A minor 7, it's... Then that note right there, the B flat, that could be the 9 of the A flat minor. So A flat minor 9, and then D flat, 13, and then just chromatic back down to the 2-5 back to the top. So as you can see, a lot of these reharms do end up just coming down to chromatic 2-5-1s in different spots. Sometimes they work with the melodies, sometimes they don't. But either way, these give you, just a couple of new little devices to maneuver around these tunes and make them a little bit more exciting, especially if these are songs that you're playing over and over and over again on gigs. It's just fun to kind of mix it up a bit and throw in a couple of surprises in terms of the harmony and just give you a little bit more stuff to play around with and come up with some new and cool sounds. So that is it for today. Hopefully that was informative and gives you a couple of new devices to utilize when you're soloing over these standards. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you at the next video. Take care.